disconnected.
Hello viewers, and thanks for joining today. Today I was going to do a how to install a Trailtech high output stator and rectifier regulator on my WR450. So if you'll stick around, we'll get to it and show you how to install this high output stator and rectifier regulator kit, and this will allow you to run upgraded LED bulbs or any kind of upgraded off-road lights, things in that nature that you want to run on your bike. But definitely you got to have a high output stator to do that. So stick around and we'll jump right into it. Okay, so before we get started, let's take a look and see what comes in the Trailtech kit, and we'll take a look at that real quick. So let's open it up, and I've already been in here and I kind of unpackaged this a little bit to make it just a little quicker, but you can see some nice detailed instructions on how to install this. Comes from Trailtech. That's pretty nice. Here is the upgraded rectifier regulator that you'll need to install that comes in the kit. There's a little harness that will be utilized that we plug in line between the components. Little bag of spacers and fasteners for the rectifier regulator, and then the heart of the kit is the brand new OEM direct replacement high output stator, and these are a thing of beauty. Really nice quality. Everything that I've come to like from Trailtech has always been nice quality stuff. So we're going to get started and get this stuff installed on our WR450, and that allows to run some additional off-road lights. First, we're going to start off with a nice Cyclops LED bulb replacement. Going to make a huge difference. So we'll start with that first, and we got some other lights from Cyclops that we're going to install on this bike. Okay, one thing I've done to make this task a little easier is, of course, I got the WR450 up on the MSR hijacker lift, and before we get started, we got to gain access to some of the electrical harnesses that are back behind here. So we're going to remove the seat, tank, and shrouds, and that will expose the necessary wires that we need to, the wiring harnesses and connectors, and then that allows us to get started on pulling the ignition cover off and get started getting the new high output stator installed from Trailtech. Okay, got the seat off, and as usual it's always dirty under there. So really liking this little multi-use T-handle from MSR. Comes with an 8, a 10, and a 12 millimeter on the T-handle itself, and makes life pretty easy. So okay, now that we have the got the seat off, got the tank, the shrouds, everything's exposed here. I just briefly looked at the instructions, and I think of course we're going to have to locate our electrical connections here and get our tie straps removed so we can take the stator harness and unplug it, get ready to remove this ignition cover so we can get ready to install the Trailtech stator. So this is the first part of it. It's just getting the bike broke down a little bit, getting the tank, seat, and shrouds off so you can expose the things that you need to get to. So okay, so one thing we want to do is of course you can see the harness here. I got some tie straps cut loose, but you can see the harness here coming out of the OEM rectifier regulator. So the first thing we want to do is we're just going to unplug these two connectors and get this rectifier regulator ready to be removed. Okay, so we got those removed. Just feed these wires around. So now this would be available to remove. And the next thing we want to do is locate our stator wires. You can see the stator wires here. We want to locate those, and so we can get that OEM stator unplugged, and that allow us to start removing this ignition cover. Okay, so I got the stator, the OEM stator unplugged, and these wires were just routed up next to the frame member there. But these two here were the OEM rectifier regulator. These two connectors here were the OEM stator. Okay, so you just basically locate these. You just trace the wires up along the frame, find out where the stator's plugged into, and just unplug it. This was pretty simple for these two, just because the rectifier regulator was so close. These wires were just tucked in here. I had to just kind of cut a couple tie straps, pull them out, start to pull on this wire just a little bit to jiggle it. Found that it was connected to these two connectors, and just unplugged it. So now we have the electrical system for the stator and for the rectifier regulator unplugged. Okay, so I'm going to take our little 8mm, start cracking some of these screws loose. And I went ahead and drained the oil. Bike was due for an oil change, so I went ahead and drained the oil. Definitely don't want to remove this without draining the oil. It's just going to run all over the shop floor, make a mess. Nobody likes that. I'll have to get this shifter removed. I'm just going to break these loose, pull a couple of them out. Okay, so once you got all the fasteners out, okay, got to pull this hose off. It's a small little spring clamp, okay. Then you're gently gonna kind of pull this gearbox for the starter off. Okay, be careful, there's a washer here. Sometimes it likes to get stuck right here. So you're gonna pull that off. You'll need to remove this little 8mm bolt. Let's set those aside. And now we're ready to remove this ignition cover. Sometimes just gently pulling on it. I had a little pry bar here, but I really didn't need it. And there we go. Got the ignition cover off. I got a couple paper towels here, catch any oil. And there is the stator. So we'll be removing this and replacing it. So we got the ignition cover off. That's pretty simple to do. It's not that hard, not that big of a job. Okay, so to get the stator out of the ignition cover, we're going to use a 1/4-inch drive T-handle, and you're going to need a T25 Torx bit. And there's not but 2 screws sitting in here that hold this stator in place. They're not very tight, which is good. Don't want to have to fight and struggle with those things. So those 2 screws will get the little stator loose, and now there's the pickup coil over here. Looks like it has some Allens. Those may be not 6mm. Let's take a look here. Maybe those are 5mm. Yeah, so the pickup coil is going to take a 5mm Allen. So let's go ahead and pop it loose. Those are a little tighter than the stator. So pop those loose. Got a little oil on them. Set these bolts here. Let's go ahead and take these out. A little grommet out of the side. And you just pick up the pickup coil and the stator. And this little piece here, we'll be reusing that. And that's it. So this is the OEM stator. Real simple to remove. Okay, so we're going to we got the Trail Tech stator here. So we're just gonna gently just lay this down in here, get it positioned. Probably put the little screws in just to hold it in place while we start to get the wiring harness and stuff laid out. We're not going to tighten these yet, so we're just going to snug them up. Okay, so we got the stator laying in there, and one thing we want to do is we routed the wires, the stator wires, in between this boss and this boss to go underneath here and come out this side. And what that'll do, this little bracket here, this bracket here is to keep the flywheel from rubbing or damaging the stator lead. So we're just going to tighten this up. So your stator wires are exiting on this side of the stator. They're just running underneath here, coming up and out. And then the pickup coil wires right here. I'm going to tighten these up. So get the routing correct. You don't want anything to get in the way of the flywheel that's rotating. It'll just chew up the wires. So torque these two, torque these, and then you're ready to get the ignition cover installed back on the bike. Of course, now you'd want to prepare your surface, your gasket, things of that nature, so you can get ready to put the ignition cover back on. Lay a couple of my fasteners right here. You can see it's easy to get that gasket popped out of place. It's kind of a metal felt gasket, so it's reusable for the most part. So we're going to just gently pull this back on. Okay, so let's start putting the ignition cover back on. I'm just going to gently snug up all these fasteners. We're just snugging them up, pulling everything up tight. Okay, so when putting the drive gear for electric start assembly on, make sure this washer is still on the shaft here. Little dimple facing up. We've put our fastener in. I've moved that gear a little, so you may have to there we go. So you may have to just manipulate the gears a little bit if you rotated them during removal. Okay, let's remove the voltage regulator rectifier. Just two little 8mm screws. That's as simple as that. Removing the OEM rectifier regulator. Okay, so now we're going to install the Trail Tech voltage regulator and rectifier that came in a kit. So here's our mounting boss. This is going to typically mount just like the other one did. Okay, it's a little different. It comes with these little spacers in the kit. It also comes with its own fasteners. That is a 4mm Allen head. Let's get that started to help hold everything in place. Come there and put our other spacer on. Get our other screw in there. And what I'm doing is once I get all this just lightly held in place, that's all we're wanting to do right now is just get this on here. I'm going to come back up here and take this one off now that I got the bottom one in. It was just easier for me to put the top in first and then put the lower screw in. Now we can hook our original, the OEM cable and wire retainer. So that is putting on the Trail Tech voltage regulator and rectifier. I got a little extra wires in here because of a dual sport kit, but that's how easy it is to install the rectifier regulator kit. Just make sure you snug these up. Okay, before we connect any of these wires, we have the rectifier regulator leads, our new stator leads here. These are our connections on our OEM harness. These are our old stator connectors on the harness. This is where the OEM stator came up and plugged into. So the first thing we're going to do, this connector is no longer used. There is a waterproof cap piece that comes in the Trail Tech kit. Plug that in there. This connector, it's got the yellow and white wires. Gray connector, yellow and white wires, is no longer used with the Trail Tech kit. So you're going to put the dummy plug in. It's a waterproof connector. And just kind of for the moment, get it out of your hair. Just push it to the side. Now I'm going to show you how to connect these, and then I'll have to go back and do some nice tidy work with the tie straps. But basically what you're going to have, the black connector, 3-pin triangle, plugs into there. The single pin, this is very familiar. This is a single spade connector. This is identical to the way the OEM hooked up, okay? And then we're going to plug up yellow to yellow, red and white to red and white. So there you go. That's how you make this connection work between the rectifier regulator and the stator, and not using the OEM connector here for the old stator. Okay. So I'm going to clean this up and make it a little more tidier, and we'll discuss this little bullet connector in just a moment. So next thing you want to do is get your headlight mask removed, and locate this connector right here, and then locate this connector that came in the Trail Tech kit. Okay, it's going to be plugging in line in between here, and then this will run back over to that bullet connector that we mentioned previously, that's over at the regulator rectifier. Okay, we got this unplugged. So you're going to take your Trail Tech harness that came with your kit. Plug that in there. You'll plug this end in here, and then you'll route this. We'll just route this back through here, back over to the rectifier regulator. Just going to kind of push it, get it started, and then we'll tidy up those wires when you're done. So we run the brown lead through here, that bullet connector here. Plug those in together nice and tight, and then we'll secure those with a couple of tie straps just to keep that out of the way, keep it from getting damaged. Well, thanks for joining today, and as always, we appreciate you viewing our videos, commenting, subscribing. But that concludes today on how to install a Trailtech high output stator and rectifier regulator kit on a WR450F. And check out Trailtech. They offer a variety of electrical lighting systems, and what's really cool is they got some enduro computers with GPS features, engine management and monitor systems. So thanks for watching. Check out Trailtech, and we'll see you out on the trail. Thanks.